Good day and welcome to REI Radio, brought to you by the Real Estate Investor magazine. My name is Sidima Mfeku. South Africa and the world has been hit hard by a global pandemic, the outbreak of coronavirus, COVID-19. This has not only backfired on the health of human beings, but threatens the economies of many countries. Many sectors in this regard have been dented, and the property sector is no exception. To speak to us about the impact of coronavirus or COVID-19 in the property sector, we are joined on the line by CEO of Betterbond and Better Financial Consultants, Mr. Coetzee. Thank you very much for joining us, sir.
Hi there, Sidima.
Firstly, how is the lockdown keeping you? It's been how many days now? 8-9 days into the 21 days of lockdown. How has it been for you?
Yeah, working from home is quite a change. But what I find is I work much harder here because you're sort of on from the morning early until late in the evenings. So yeah, but I mean we are getting through it and doing our thing.
Yeah, doing the best out of it at your place of comfort. You just want to use every time you have, every opportunity you have to make things happen. For you as a businessman, as a player in the real estate sector, how have you been dealing with the lockdown? How have you been dealing with the whole pandemic? What mechanisms have you been putting in place to try and deal with it?
Yeah, from a business point of view, what we've done is to say, firstly, we wanted to get everybody working remotely and really try and keep our people safe. So that's our biggest priority is the health of our staff. So even before lockdown, we made the call to try and get as many people as what we could at that point working from home, and I think we did that quite well. We set up a sort of a incident management team, if I can call it that. Some of our senior leaders. We meet, basically every day. Every morning we do a catch up around what's happened the previous day and what's our plans for the day.
And speaking of dealing with the lockdown, one would like to know, what is the effect or the impact of the lockdown on residential property market or the entire business landscape, what really is going on. So to a person who really cannot read the demographics, who cannot analyze what things are, how would you say things are going at this moment?
Yeah, so I think the first big thing that we know is that the real estate market or the property industry is not an essential service. So that means that everybody in the industry is being locked down and can't operate. And the biggest impact on the industry is the deeds office, because the deeds office is the core of what makes the whole market operate, because that's where houses trade. And because the deeds office are closed, that means no houses can trade. So buyers and sellers, so for people in the street, they won't be able to register their homes. So buying and selling sort of comes to, I won't say to a halt, but really, really slows down dramatically because of that. Also, real estate agents can't show you houses. And we've seen that even before the lockdown, sellers were scared on having some people in their homes. So they already said, oh, no, we don't like that. So physically can't go see the houses. Real estate has been quite sort of at the front end of the curve, meaning they've got some 3D pictures of the homes, of virtual tours that they do, so customers can still see that, but not physically seeing the home. So that has sort of had a big dramatic effect on the market as we stand now in lockdown. Nobody can view a house, just can't trade, and that's what we deal with.
And recently, we've had a real estate investment summit where we were looking at the digitization of the property sector. And I'd like to, when we're talking about the lockdown, I think it's very important that we look at how technology is now coming in very hard and coming at play and assisting where it actually can. And where do you think technology is coming in now at this point, especially when we're talking about real estate agents? And we know that there's this whole thing about traditional real estate agents and online estate agents and things. So now, is it really benefiting anyone at this point?
And it's a good question. So I think this is a wake-up call for real estate to say, if you haven't adopted technologies like virtual, let's call it this virtual viewing as a good example. It's been in the market for quite some time. I don't think everybody adapted that, and they didn't need to up until now as much as what they needed now. So I think there's a big adoption of that right now. People realizing that we need to adopt these technologies to make it easier for us to do business in this sort of time. And I read this morning about Zoom, and we're on a Zoom call right now. How the Zoom has just boomed, and you can see a lot of real estate are connecting with their customers like this. So I think it's definitely given. If we see any positive out of this, we can definitely see that real estate and the whole industry are needing to adopt technology quicker, and this sort of forces that behavior a little bit more.
Okay, so should anyone who is interested in investing in the property sector go in and invest at this time?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think, as the days go on, and if you asked me this question last week or the week before, my answer would have been different. I think people need to be cautious in how they do now. Look at what you can afford. So we say, go do a pre-qualification, and we do that. Get a pre-qualification, understand what you qualify for firstly, and then really decide if you can afford it. So affordability at this point in time is for me the key thing for people to consider. Yes, we are expecting prices of houses to be quite favorable for buyers as we get out of this. But we know the economy will struggle more than what we saw pre-lockdown, and I want people to be cautious about it. But my advice is just be responsible, understand what you can afford, and stay within your means.
That's quite very interesting. Stay within your means and make sure what you want.
So the other thing, what I'm also concerned about is in this time, your credit history or your credit score or your credit profile is extremely important to the bank when they qualify you for a home loan. In this time, to make sure that you keep on doing what you need to do, maybe your financial commitments, so that your credit standing is still strong when you come out of this.
So what does it mean to be in a buyer's market? And how can first-time property buyers take advantage of the situation? And also, what should they look out for? Should we say that in the 16th of April, it's back to business again? What should they look out for? How will the market be? Will it be in favor of them, or will it be in favor of the buyers at that particular?
Yeah, we can't predict, and I don't have that crystal ball to say what the market is going to do post-lockdown. But we do know the industry is quite influenced by the macroeconomic things in the country. So a lot of parts of our economy are going to be affected by this. And what that will do to the property market, is we need to, we'll have to wait and see what it does. I think there will be less activity that what we've seen before the lockdown, as people come to grips and as people come back to jobs, and we can see, there will be people losing jobs. And so in one way, we do think there will be properties coming on the market, but I do expect it will sell slower because people will be concerned about their futures and their incomes in the thing. My advice again would be get pre-qualified, understand how much you can afford. Firstly, because we see this a lot of times, people they think they can afford a 2 million rand house and not really. So get pre-qualified, and then really do your budget properly and understand how much you can afford and how much do you want to spend on a home. Remember, the repayment of the house, we can easily understand that, but there are many other costs associated. So your levies or your rates and taxes, and make sure that you get all that information to make sure that your budget is proper and that you are sure that you have the affordability for that home.
Speaking of buying property, because I know as a first-time property buyer, all you have in mind is that it's a big investment, and maybe someone doesn't really know deep about it being an investment. What does the saying mean, that property is the biggest investment that anyone could?
Yeah, I think firstly, property is probably the biggest asset you'll ever buy, rand-wise. So that will be your biggest investment, meaning where you spend your money on will be the biggest. The home will be the biggest thing where you spend your money on. So that's the first thing. So what bonds you get, what interest rate you get, all of that is critically important, because that allows you, a good interest rate can save you hundreds of thousands of rands in the long term, because it's typically a 20-year commitment that you make to the bank. So property is also quite a stable, if we look at in the history, it's quite a stable investment property type. So if you invest in the stock exchange, which could fluctuate quite a bit, and we see it now quite heavily, property is not so, doesn't fluctuate so much. It's far more stable. The property market in the long run will give you some growth. Now we know it won't, but if you look at a 10-year or 15-year thing, it will give you good growth on your money, potentially. We don't know what's going to happen after the lockdown, but that's certainly what we've seen so far.
Thank you very much, Carl, for this conversation. We'll probably have another conversation sometime soon, especially about credit insurance from the banks. I think I want that to be like the one we need to talk very much about it, because I think it's quite very interesting, especially now at the time where we don't know if really COVID-19 is going, or the COVID-19 lockdown is going to end sometime in April, or it will take longer. So we need to be ready for all of these things and be aware of what really might happen to investors and players in the property market. Thank you so much.
Sure. Cool. Thank you very much.